The warning. The stars had always been a source of wonder for the people of Earth. They looked up to the night sky with dreams of reaching beyond their world, imagining distant planets and far-off galaxies. But in the year 2085, something happened that no one could have predicted. Earth's peaceful existence was about to change forever. It began with a message, one that arrived on every communication network on Earth. No one knew where it had come from or who sent it. It wasn't an ordinary message, it was a warning, cold and frightening, telling Earth's leaders that their planet was marked for destruction. It was a message from an unknown source, something or someone far beyond the reach of human technology. The message was simple but chilling: Earth is marked for extermination. The leaders of Earth were caught off guard. No one had ever imagined that the world they knew could be a target for something beyond their understanding. The message itself didn't explain why Earth was marked or by whom. There were no details, no demands, just that simple sentence: Earth is marked for extermination. The world immediately went into a panic. Governments scrambled to verify the source of the message, but every attempt to trace its origin led to nothing. It was as if it had come from nowhere. For the first time in history, Earth had no answers, and the uncertainty was more terrifying than the message itself. In major cities around the world, people looked to their leaders for guidance, but there was none. The governments of Earth were caught in chaos. In the United States, President Maria Jensen called an emergency meeting with her top advisors. In China, President Li Wei ordered the military to prepare for an unknown threat. In Russia, Prime Minister Anton Orlov demanded answers, but no one could provide them. "We must find out who did this," President Jensen declared, her voice shaking but firm. "We can't afford to sit back and do nothing." But no one had answers. The world's top scientists were called in to examine the message, but they found nothing. The message was nothing more than a string of data, with no identifiable origin. It wasn't a virus or a hoax, it was just there, appearing on every screen, every device, everywhere. In every corner of the world, fear began to spread. People rushed to stock up on supplies, fearing the worst. Some people believed it was the work of aliens, hostile invaders from another star system. Others thought it might be the beginning of a war with an enemy humanity had never encountered before. Rumors spread quickly, each one worse than the last. In the midst of the chaos, Earth's top military leaders gathered for an emergency summit. General Marcus Hayward, a seasoned veteran with decades of experience, was among the first to speak. "We can't fight what we don't understand. But we must be ready for whatever comes. If this is a real threat, we need to act fast." But no one knew how to act. There was no information, no way to prepare. Earth's defenses were designed to protect against natural disasters or military threats from other nations, but nothing could have prepared them for the unknown. As the days passed, the world's leaders continued to search for answers. They turned to the stars, hoping to find something that would explain the strange message. Some believed it was a warning from a race of aliens who had been watching Earth, perhaps even observing humanity for centuries. Others thought it might be an elaborate hoax, a stunt by some unknown group trying to create fear. But as the days turned into weeks, one thing became clear: Earth was on its own. There was no sign of a peaceful diplomatic solution, no message from an advanced civilization offering help. It was as if the universe had gone silent, leaving Earth to face whatever was coming without any allies. Then, just when the world thought it couldn't get worse, Earth's communication systems were hit by another shock. A series of deep space satellites, which had been silent for years, suddenly powered up. A signal, strange, cryptic, and distorted, began to broadcast across the globe. It was a new message, and this time, it was longer. The voice that came through the speakers was unlike anything human, mechanical and distant, yet somehow haunting. "Your planet is insignificant in the grand design of the universe, Earth. You are but an obstacle. Prepare for the end." The fear on Earth's leaders grew as the voice echoed in their minds. This was no hoax. This was real. Whatever was out there in the galaxy, it wasn't interested in negotiation, it was preparing for war. The world had no answers, only questions. Why Earth? What had they done to deserve such a fate? Had they unknowingly crossed a line in the vast, mysterious galaxy? Or were they simply unlucky, chosen for some reason that no one could understand? Now, Earth's fate hung in the balance. And as each minute passed, the uncertainty only grew. Could they find a way to fight back? Or was this the beginning of the end? The Galactic Council's silence. The days following the terrifying message were filled with uncertainty and confusion. As governments across Earth tried to gather information, they hit a dead end. The message that had shaken the planet to its core was still unexplained, and now, the silence from the galaxy's governing body, the Galactic Council, only deepened the sense of dread. The Galactic Council was the most powerful and influential organization in the known universe. It was made up of representatives from hundreds of different star systems, tasked with maintaining peace and order across the galaxy. Earth had only recently become a member, and humanity had always thought of the Council as a neutral and fair organization. But now, with the galaxy's silence surrounding Earth's fate, doubts began to grow. Why hasn't the Council responded? President Maria Jensen demanded as she stared at the communications screen, her voice tight with frustration. The Council's headquarters, located in a distant star system, had always been known for its swift and effective decision-making. But now, weeks had passed, and not a single word had been sent in response to Earth's desperate plea for help. General Marcus Hayward paced back and forth in the room. This is unlike anything we've seen before. If the Council was going to intervene, they would have by now. They always act quickly in situations like this. I don't understand, President Jensen said, shaking her head. If the Council is as powerful as they claim to be, why aren't they doing something? This isn't just a local conflict, this is about the survival of Earth. Why would they remain silent? The questions lingered in the air, unanswered. And as the hours stretched into days, the world grew increasingly tense. The message from the mysterious alien force had made it clear, Earth was an obstacle to be removed. And yet, the only response humanity received was complete silence from the very body that should have been offering aid and protection. Meanwhile, in the farthest reaches of space, the same silence hung like a heavy cloud. Earth's messages to the Galactic Council had gone unanswered. The once bustling communication channels to the galaxy's heart were now eerily still, as if the entire universe had chosen to ignore Earth's crisis. In the absence of a response, the world's governments had no choice but to take matters into their own hands. The global military alliances that had long been in place to protect humanity from natural threats were now put to the test like never before. But no one had a clear plan. How could they defend themselves against an enemy they couldn't even identify? In Moscow, Prime Minister Anton Orlov gathered his advisors for an emergency session. If the Council refuses to help us, we must find our own way. We cannot sit here and wait for an answer. Earth's survival depends on us. But even as the world's leaders tried to form a united front, divisions began to surface. Some argued that Earth should be focusing on defense, while others insisted that they needed to find out more about the alien invaders before taking any action. The uncertainty about the Council's silence only fueled the fear that Earth was truly alone. Meanwhile, there was growing concern among Earth's scientists. The message from the unknown source had contained no clues about the alien race's motives or capabilities. What did they want? Why had they chosen Earth as their target? Were they simply a powerful, unknown race looking to expand their empire, or was there something more? And how could humanity stop a force so mysterious and so far beyond their comprehension? The days turned into weeks, and tensions continued to rise. Earth's resources were being stretched thin, and the population began to feel the pressure. In every city, people gathered in front of screens, waiting for any sign of hope, any message that could explain why their world was in danger. But all they heard was silence. It was then that a new, unexpected report came in from the moon base. A team of scientists working there had detected strange signals coming from the edge of the solar system, deep in space. The signals seemed to be coming from an unknown source, one that appeared to be in communication with the alien warships. The signals were encrypted and difficult to understand, but they clearly weren't coming from the Galactic Council. Could this be the enemy? President Jensen asked, her voice tense as she watched the report. Are they already here? General Hayward studied the data closely. It's possible. But the signals are unlike anything we've seen. We may be dealing with something far more complicated than we ever imagined. And so, the silence from the Galactic Council remained, but the signs were clear. Earth was on the verge of a war it wasn't ready for, and no one knew who, or what, was behind it. Was this a rogue faction within the Council? Or was Earth being targeted by an entirely new threat from beyond the known galaxy? The mystery deepened, and Earth's leaders could only prepare for the worst. As the signals from deep space continued to pour in, humanity realized that there was no turning back now. The galaxy had turned its back on Earth, and the only choice left was to fight for survival. The warships emerge. As the silence from the Galactic Council continued, something far more ominous began to unfold in the depths of space. Earth had barely begun to recover from the shock of the message when it happened. On the edge of the solar system, where the stars seemed to fade into the darkness of deep space, a new threat emerged, one that would shake humanity to its core. The first sighting came from the moon base. A team of astronomers scanning the skies with powerful telescopes spotted a massive fleet of warships, their dark silhouettes stark against the distant stars. At first, they thought it was a glitch, or perhaps some kind of cosmic anomaly. But as the objects grew clearer, it became undeniable. Thousands, no, millions, of ships appeared to be moving toward Earth. The warships were unlike anything Earth had ever seen. They were vast, their shapes long and jagged, built for power and destruction. Each one was far larger than any human-made vessel, dwarfing even the mightiest warships Earth had ever constructed. The sheer scale of the fleet sent a shiver through the scientists who had made the discovery. General Marcus Hayward, stationed at the Earth Defense Command, was the first to respond. His voice crackled through the communication lines as he addressed the world's military leaders. "We've confirmed it," he said, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "The fleet is real. And it's heading straight for us." On Earth, panic spread like wildfire. Governments rushed to activate their defense systems, but everyone knew it was futile. The weapons Earth had were nothing compared to the colossal ships now heading toward them. The question was no longer whether the warships would reach Earth, but when, and what would happen when they did. As the fleet advanced, strange signals started to pulse through the communication channels once again. The same eerie voice that had sent the original message, cold, mechanical, and filled with authority, now broadcasted a chilling announcement across all frequencies. "Your time has come. Earth is an obstacle to the galaxy's progress. Prepare for your extinction." The message was clear. This wasn't just an invasion. This was a declaration of war, a war humanity had never expected, fought by an enemy far beyond their understanding. The words echoed through every corner of the world, freezing humanity in fear. People gathered in panic-stricken groups, staring up at the sky as the warships grew closer. In every city, the streets were flooded with anxious citizens, unable to grasp the enormity of what was happening. What could they do? What hope did they have? But Earth's leaders knew that inaction was not an option. They quickly established emergency military operations, pooling their most advanced weapons and strategies to defend against the impending attack. Yet, despite their best efforts, it was clear that Earth was outmatched. The warship's sheer power was overwhelming. The technology they brought with them was centuries, if not millennia, ahead of humanity's own. Across the globe, military forces began to mobilize. Jets took off, rockets were launched, and soldiers lined up, ready to fight. But in the back of their minds, all of them knew one thing: they were not prepared for this fight. In a last-ditch effort to defend the planet, the United Nations called for a global summit. Representatives from every country gathered in a secure location, their faces grim as they discussed Earth's last chance for survival. "We cannot face this enemy with conventional weapons," President Jensen said, her voice filled with a mixture of determination and disbelief. "We need something more. Something unexpected." At that moment, a young scientist named Dr. Elena Voss made an unexpected suggestion. She had been working on a top-secret project for years, one that had been kept hidden from the public eye. A weapon so powerful, so dangerous, that its use had been considered a last resort. It was a prototype, still untested, but if it worked, it could turn the tide of the battle. "We may have a chance," Dr. Voss said, her eyes gleaming with urgency. "But it's going to require everything we have, and a leap of faith." The world's leaders agreed to move forward with the risky plan. Earth had no choice. But as they prepared to unleash this mysterious weapon, there was one question on everyone's mind: would it be enough? As the warships continued to close in on Earth, the world held its breath. Every second brought them closer to a confrontation with an enemy whose power they could not comprehend. The fleet was almost here, and with it, the unknown. Was this truly the end of Earth? Or did humanity still have a chance to fight back? The atmosphere on Earth was thick with tension. People prayed, fought, and hoped for a miracle, knowing that the battle for survival was about to begin, and that every action would determine whether Earth would stand or fall. Humanity's fight back. As the dark warships loomed ever closer, the planet seemed to hold its breath. Earth's greatest minds, engineers, and military strategists had spent sleepless nights preparing for the unknown battle ahead. The world, fractured by fear and uncertainty, found an unlikely unity in the face of extinction. Nations that had once been divided by politics, ideologies, and borders now set aside their differences, united under the shared banner of survival. It was a war no one had expected, an alien invasion that seemed to mock humanity's advancements. Earth's weapons, once the pinnacle of technology, now seemed like toys compared to the colossal, impenetrable warships that approached. Earth's military forces had mobilized quickly, but the gap in power was vast. Conventional warfare could not hope to stop them. Yet, in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity had one advantage: their will to survive. In every corner of the world, civilians and soldiers alike joined forces. Governments issued a global call to action, and people began to rally. The streets were filled with volunteers, eager to do anything they could to help. Some turned to technology, attempting to develop countermeasures against the unknown enemy. Others rallied to defend their cities, armed with whatever they could find. From advanced fighter jets to makeshift barricades, humanity's resilience was tested like never before. Yet, despite the chaos, one question burned in the minds of Earth's leaders: could the weapon Dr. Elena Voss had proposed really work? The prototype was still in its early stages, untested and fraught with risks. A top-secret project, it had been designed to exploit a weakness in the alien warship's shields, a weakness that had been discovered through years of covert research. But using it required precision, timing, and sheer luck, three things Earth had in short supply. Dr. Voss, standing before a massive control screen, worked tirelessly with a team of scientists and engineers to finalize the device. It was a massive energy weapon, capable of emitting a focused, high-powered blast that could penetrate the warship's advanced shields. The problem, however, was that the weapon was unstable. It needed to be calibrated perfectly, and Earth's best military minds couldn't risk firing it without knowing if it would work. As the hours passed, the world's armies and fleets assembled at key points across the globe. The United Nations made the call to launch their defense, even if it meant sending their forces into battle with little more than hope and determination. The battle for survival would be their defining moment. But as Earth's forces made their final preparations, something unexpected happened. A new signal pulsed across the galaxy, this time, from the alien fleet itself. It wasn't a message of aggression, it was a transmission, calculated and deliberate. The voice that had haunted Earth's communication systems now spoke again, but this time, it was different. "We have observed your preparations, Earth. Your struggle is futile. Your resistance is a final echo of your existence. You will fall before us. But before your extinction, know this, you were chosen. Chosen to be eradicated because you stand as a threat to the balance of the galaxy. The message wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration. The alien invaders weren't here for conquest or greed. They had watched Earth, studied its potential, and determined that humanity's rise was an obstacle to their own goals. Your time is over, Earth, the voice continued, cold and unwavering. Prepare for extinction. At that moment, Earth's leaders realized the truth. They weren't fighting to save their homes or their land. They were fighting for something bigger. Humanity wasn't just defending Earth, they were fighting for their place in the galaxy. For the future of every living being on their planet. And for the survival of their very existence in a universe that had deemed them expendable. With renewed determination, President Jensen gave the order. The battle was on. Across the globe, Earth's forces unleashed their final defense. Fighter jets screamed through the skies, firing missiles into the approaching fleet. Ground forces launched their own attacks, armed with advanced weapons systems designed to disrupt the alien vessel's shields. Yet, despite their best efforts, the warships barely slowed. In the midst of the chaos, General Hayward stood at the command center, his eyes focused on the tactical map. "We need to buy time," he barked. "We need to keep them distracted long enough for Dr. Voss's weapon to fire." As the clock ticked down, the energy weapon, nicknamed the Beacon, was activated. Its massive core hummed with power, ready to unleash the concentrated blast that could save Earth, or doom them all. Dr. Voss stood at the helm, her hands trembling as she made the final adjustments. "We're ready," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the roar of the control room. "This is our last chance." With a deep breath, she activated the weapon. A brilliant beam of light shot up from the Earth's surface, cutting through the atmosphere and blasting toward the alien fleet. The warships, momentarily caught off guard, attempted to block the beam with their shields, but it was too late. The weapon's blast punched through their defenses, hitting the lead ship directly. For the first time, the invincible warships began to falter. The lead ship staggered in space, its shields buckling under the immense force. The explosion sent shockwaves through the fleet, and the once mighty invasion force began to retreat. Humanity had done the impossible. The invaders, stunned by the unexpected resistance, began to pull back. Earth wasn't finished yet. But even in this moment of victory, the battle was far from over. The warships may have retreated, but the question remained, would this be enough to drive the enemy away for good, or was this only the beginning of a much larger war? Humanity had struck the first blow, but in the vastness of the galaxy, many more threats lurked in the shadows. The unexpected ally. Just when humanity thought they had won a fleeting victory, the truth of the galaxy's vastness and its unpredictable nature began to unfold. The alien warships, though stunned and temporarily repelled by Earth's unexpected resistance, hadn't retreated for long. The battle was only a brief lull in what promised to be an even more dangerous conflict. The question now was whether Earth had merely delayed its destruction or if it could somehow find a way to end the war once and for all. In the days following the attack, the world's leaders gathered in secret. The initial sense of triumph was quickly replaced by a creeping uncertainty. Earth had thrown everything it had at the invaders, yet the galaxy was a vast, untamed place. They couldn't rely on luck again. They needed more than just a weapon, they needed allies. "I don't know how long we can hold them off," President Maria Jensen admitted, her voice hoarse from the stress of days spent trying to secure Earth's defenses. "We need help. We need something, or someone, that we're not seeing." It was in this moment of doubt that an unexpected signal pierced the chaos. It wasn't from the alien invaders. It was from a far-off region of the galaxy, a place no human had ever ventured. The message was brief and cryptic, yet it carried an undeniable weight. "Earth, we have been watching. You are not alone." The transmission came from an unknown source, but there was something familiar in the tone. The voice wasn't mechanical, nor was it cold. It was warm, almost reassuring. Yet, its origin was just as mysterious as the invaders themselves. "This is the Valtari," the voice continued. "We have seen your struggle. We have faced similar fates, and we know the threat you face. But there is more to this galaxy than you understand. You have allies, if you are willing to trust us." The world's leaders listened intently as the voice continued, its words both offering hope and sowing confusion. "The ones who attacked you are not the true danger. They are but pawns in a larger game, one that threatens the balance of the entire galaxy. The Galactic Council will not intervene, for it has been corrupted, controlled by forces you cannot see. We, the Valtari, have watched over your kind from afar. We know you have the potential to tip the scales, but only if you stand united with us." The transmission ended as abruptly as it had started, leaving Earth's leaders in stunned silence. Who were the Valtari? Why had they been watching humanity? And why were they reaching out now? "I don't believe it," General Marcus Hayward said, shaking his head. "An ally from the depths of the galaxy? Who are these people? And why would they trust us?" President Jensen was silent for a moment, absorbing the gravity of the message. The idea of trusting an unknown alien race was terrifying. But the enemy they were fighting was not just a powerful force, it was a force that had already proven its ability to destroy. If the Valtari were real, could they be humanity's key to survival? "We have no choice," President Jensen said finally, her voice steady despite the overwhelming uncertainty. "We have to take the chance. If there's even a chance they can help, we can't turn our backs on it." And so, humanity prepared to contact the Valtari, hoping that they were not walking into a trap. The message had said they were watching, but why had they remained silent until now? Was this an act of mercy, or was there a larger, darker reason behind their offer? As the communication lines opened once again, Earth's leaders held their breath, unsure of what would come next. The Valtari had promised they could help, but their true intentions were still a mystery. As the message from the Valtari's leader came through, a sense of unease settled over Earth's representatives. "We are the Valtari, the Watchers of the Balance," the voice spoke, its tone calm and authoritative. "We offer you knowledge, power, and the means to fight back against your enemies. But be warned, for the path we offer is not one without sacrifice. To defeat the enemy you face, you must first understand the forces that control the galaxy." The Valtari explained their history, their role as guardians of the galaxy's delicate equilibrium, and their ability to manipulate certain aspects of spacetime. They had watched Earth for centuries, observing humanity's development, waiting for the right moment to intervene. The invasion was merely the first wave of a much larger threat, an intergalactic conspiracy that had been brewing for millennia. "The enemy you face, the ones who attacked your planet, are servants of the Requiem Order," the Valtari leader explained. "This order seeks to eradicate all that threatens the stability of their rule. You are not the first planet they have targeted, and you won't be the last unless you act quickly. But we can help you, if you trust us." The Valtari offered Earth their technology, their wisdom, and their weapons, tools that could not only push back the invading fleet but could also give humanity the upper hand in the larger galactic war that loomed on the horizon. But the price was high. To gain this power, Earth would have to align itself with the Valtari, agreeing to become a part of their greater mission to restore balance to the galaxy. In return, humanity would gain the knowledge and technology to fight back against the Requiem Order, and the chance to safeguard their future in a galaxy filled with hidden enemies. President Jensen, her face etched with determination, made her decision. "We have no other choice. We must stand together, not just as Earth, but as part of something much larger. We accept your offer, Valtari. Help us save our world." The world watched as the Valtari began to extend their reach, offering humanity the knowledge to reshape their future. But as Earth's leaders joined forces with their newfound allies, a deep, lingering question remained: what would the true cost of this alliance be? The galaxy was vast, and the stakes were higher than ever. And so, humanity's battle for survival continued, not just for their planet, but for the balance of the entire galaxy. The fight was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning.